you went down to the Home Secretary and everything else. Well, what was that like going down to the epicenter of it all?
Oh, Christ. So, if you think you know what it's like, it's probably going to be exactly what you think. When you go into Downing Street, it sounds really strange, but you can't stand still. They won't have anyone stand still. So you walk in, they take you take your phone off you. So you're not allowed a phone, smartwatch, or anything like that. And you've got to go to a room. You are sent somewhere. You are not allowed to hover around. It's full of CPO bodyguards. It's full of intelligence officers. It's full of everyone. You are watched like a hawk. The building, I don't know if you've ever seen Love Actually, and it is exactly the same as that. That's how it is. And you're led to a room, and each room's got massive history. It's all full with antiques everywhere. It is what you expect it to be. It's like being in like a bit of a palace, but it's a TARDIS as well. It just goes on and on and on. You think it's small, it's not. It goes on, rooms everywhere. It's ginormous inside. Everything in there is kitted out for security. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot look anywhere. You can. It is literally like being in. All I can say is like a safe in a bank. Very posh, very nice. Everyone's polite, everyone's respectful, and the people that are what I would describe as the runners, so the people like me and you, the people like come up and can I take your jacket? Can I do this? Can I do? Everyone's absolutely lovely. And then you sit down at you sit down at the table, and like I said, Home Secretary come in, shook everyone's hand, very nice, very courteous, very professional, and was listening to what was being said. But again, on my personal views is how I stand in my policing background and what I do. Crime can be cut massively by allowing bobbies to go do what they want to do, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But so let's look at Surons and scooters. Give authority to traffic cops to be able to pursue. Give authority to be able to tactical contact and take them down without fearing that they're going to be in a PIM suite. I'm sorry, but as soon as we put the blue lights on, it should be all over media, all in the papers, on the radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. From now on, if you fail to stop and we hit you with a vehicle and you fall off, break your arm, break your back, break your leg, hit your head, die, or whatever it is, we are not responsible. If you break the law, you make off, you know what you're doing, it's a criminal act, therefore you're not covered by anything, the bobby's fully covered. I'm not on about giving carte blanche just to ram any car, but I'm on if you're chasing someone from armed robbery, you're chasing someone that's just done a murder or a shooting, which there is in London, that's the vehicle of choice. They put the lights on, you don't stop, I'm sorry. But you shouldn't have to go to a PIM suite. And I explained the PIM suite, and she had no idea what it was. So you're talking to the Home Secretary who represents the police force and didn't know what the PIM suite was. So then how are you going to change tactical authority? How are you going to change TPOC guidelines? And how are you going to make crime come down in such an affluent area like London, outside like the war rooms, cabinet office, Downing Street, and everyone where the most phones are stolen? But then the people that will be giving you the authority are looking into guidelines stuff. They're all at the ACPO senior leadership team, and they're the ones that are petrified of everybody. They're the ones that are petrified of the world, the auditors, and everything.
Any
Well,
bad press,
yeah,
any kind of fucking Facebook post, or the armchair detectives who've never
yeah,
strapped on a stab vest in their life saying, well, if I they shouldn't have done this. What pisses me off, Ben, is when one of these shitbags nicks a car and they drive around like a fucking lunatic, and then they hit somebody and they call, they walk away scot-free, and they've hit someone and they've caused serious harm or they've killed them. And you see, oh, they got 2.5 years or 3 years in jail, um, because they said they were sorry, and then the cops are up for the high jump because they've continued to pursue them when they should have stood down. And it's easy for people who were not in that position, we're not behind the wheel of that car with all the training, to cast a judgment and an aspersion to go, well, if I was in that position, I wouldn't have done this. And then you got the IOPC and everyone else jumping all over him. It's absolute bullshit. But it's interesting to hear that the Home Secretary, the person who's supposed to know everything about the police, didn't know. I mean, personally, I don't know what a PIM suite is. It's not something I've ever encountered, but I'm not in charge of the police. So it's quite worrying, that, I think.
and not only that, now all the hard work that the Home Secretary's done is gone now because we get another Home Secretary in. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like move out of office, someone else moves in. Do I take my paperwork with me? Well, no, you've gone to another role, leave it all there. New Home Secretary walks in and goes, what's all this shit on my desk? Well, it's all Are we going to look at Pim's suite? Are we going to look at oh, get that shit off my desk? I'm going to look at X, Y, and Z. So there's no continuity following on, and it's the same with every SLT leader that changes from a super to a chief super to and goes to another NIC. There's no continuity following that, and that's the same with the mental health aspect. That what they should do is get the role, and it should be in their core competencies of that role. Right, we are looking at this, we are looking at that, and it's not. It's when they come in, they're like, right, I don't like traffic now. Traffic's going to go to wayside. I like MPT. Next boss you get comes in, I don't like MPT. I like traffic. Let's go. And it's like there's no consistency of, and that's why nothing
Mhm.
goes even. But again, I think, like as you said there, it's easy for people to sit there and say, let me give you. I won't tell you where. Let me give you an idea of when I challenge someone, and I hate that word challenge. But I give a lecture a while ago to police about mental health, and I do it all over the country to all these various forces. And most of them, there's a lot of lads in there in the black tack kit, and a lot of them end up crying because of what we end up talking about, and I won't go into it all because, like I said, with meals, I don't want to be in podcast and start crying. And then at the end of it, I says, does anyone else want to put their hand up and admit they've got any sort of mental health issues? And you could see everyone look down and no one did. But I said, well, now we've had
Mhm.
this talk, everyone that's in this room should feel they should be able to go to their boss. So I says, can the highest member of staff put their hand up, please? And this Bobby put their hand up. I won't tell them the rank, but it were a high rank. And I says, you've now got a duty care. So everyone that's been in this room, and you've been in this room, you've listened to the lecture, you've got a duty care to protect your staff. So if your staff member comes to you now and says, boss, I'm struggling with mental health, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I'm scared you're going to pull my permits, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 and you don't do anything, I will now out you. I'll out you on all social media, I'll out you on X, Y, and Z, and I'll out you saying, this Bobby has come to you saying, I'm thinking about having or contemplating suicide. I've had a lecture with Ben Pearson, you were there too. You put your hand up, and now basically you're not doing anything for me. And you could see look on boss's face saying, fucking hell, he's serious. And I'm like, why would I not be serious? Do we want bobbies or emergency service workers to be committing suicide or hurting themselves? Or do we want bobbies to go to their senior leadership team or senior management and say, I'm struggling, or senior management, right, I'll do this for you. We don't want them to be failed. I would rather out a boss and say, this is what you should be doing to protect your staff. You got you got McDonald's. Oh, I'm Morrison's do it, but you have an employee of the month placard on wall at McDonald's from working out. What do bobbies get? They don't get out. They just get told you're not good enough. You just get told you're lazy. You get told you're not working hard enough. And senior leadership go up, shit rolls downhill, as we know. So I said, I'll out you. It doesn't bother me. Kick me out of your police station. I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing. I don't have to do this for popularity. I'm not wanting to do this. I'm just in that predicament where I'm doing it. But if I can save one life or stop someone dying, that's all I want to be able to do. And I think that's one of my benefits is that the fact that I can say the majority of what I want in a positive aspect. I don't mean derogatory, anything racial, homophobic, anything about religion, anything. I don't mean
Mhm.
anything like that. I mean, as in, like, I can say to a boss, you're failing your staff without feeling like, oh, I'm going to get kicked off traffic now. I'm going to get kicked off firearms. I'm going to
Yeah.
get kicked off this because what goes on is these people answer the 999 calls. These people go to the jobs that the 99% of public would not go to. 99% of public would be petrified to go to. And what the bobbies see will leave most people pissing themselves at night with night terrors because
Mhm.
the stuff that I've seen, probably you've seen, is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. So for someone to sit there and say, "I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing that for you," that don't hold any water in my book. And again, if a forcing goes right, we're not going to deal with you anymore. I'm going to fall out with you. Is that because I've held your leaders to account for not helping the staff, not helping the ones that make the world turn around, not helping the oil in the machine, so to speak? And you've had Ian Cook on from
Yeah.
Pure Lifestyle before, and we have a massive thing about this. And the people call us SLT, and a leader is someone that I would follow into pits of hell. A leader is someone that says, right, we go out there, there's a chance you're not going to be coming back. I will follow that leader. These aren't leaders. Those days are gone. These are people that manage, and there's a difference between a senior management officer and a senior leader. I've worked with so many sergeants and inspectors that I'd follow them in the pits of hell. One of
Hmm.
the best one that I ever had was a bloke called Owen West, which were my inspector, but I think he ended up as chief super. But Owen, what kind of bloke that when we were at football duty and you were there in front of all top brass, and I mean all top brass in papers, whatever. I'd walk in full motorcycle kit and he'd start shouting over briefing in front of 200 people. Whoa, Benny Ball's here. Whoa, and start shouting out stories. And this what boss? This what like chief superintendent. And I'm like, fucking hell, boss, what are you doing? And he'd be like, he'd be giving it big licks and he'd be like, he were a leader. You'd follow him anywhere. And
Yeah.
we're still friends now. And he lectures, he's one of the main people. I think it's Lancashire University where all the bobbies go to get trained and whatever. He's one of the main people there. And he's an absolute gentleman. Where other people now come in office and you're like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your name
Yep.
is. I don't know what your role is. I don't know why you're here. And then if you want me to stand up, as a courtesy out of the rank, fine, but don't expect me to respect you as a person if I don't know what you're doing,
Hmm.
why you're doing it, and what's your goals. Are your goals there to protect your staff and officers, or are your goals there to get further up on the tree? Anyway, that was my rant.
The issue what I find a lot of the time, Ben, with leadership is that, well, I was speaking to someone the other day, and he said he was a very, very good inspector. He was a good boss. He, whenever he went for his board, he passed all basically all the criteria he needs to pass, but he never got that promotion. And it was because he wasn't an arse licker. It was because he wasn't an arse licker to the bloke above him, and he wasn't licking the chief con's backside all the time. And he basically said he went through his promotion board 3 times or 4 times, and he just said, "Why am I not being promoted? I'm doing everything what you say. Why am I not being promoted?" And they blatantly said to him, "Well, you're not rubbing the shoulders with the right people. You're not. Your face doesn't fit. Basically, you're not part of the in group,
Yeah,
and that is not okay." Like, obviously, we know that these things can happen when it comes to public organization or like private organizations with businesses and everything else. Who plays golf with the boss, who goes round the bosses for dinner, and that's how these people get promoted. Now, in something like the police, when honesty and integrity are part of the fundamental code of ethics, you would think that the people who were the most integral, the people who were the best leaders, would be the ones that are being the most high rungs of management. And discovering that was always a bit of a problem. And the fact that, the look of terror on that chief officer's face that you were speaking to say, "I'm going to hold you accountable because I'm not scared of you. I'm going to hold you accountable to look after your staff," which is something, which is why you're in this leadership position. You're not just a manager, you're a leader. And the best sergeant I ever worked with was a guy called Neil Radley. And he was one of them where he's retired since, but I found myself in the shit a little bit. And he was very much like, "I'll deal with it. You're not dealing with it that way. He's a human being. You're not going to treat him X, Y, and Z." And he stuck his neck out for me. And I always, really commend that and really value that. And it's like, if you're going through a bit of a shit time, I had an inspector ring me on his day off just to check in, how you doing? Is everything, anything you need from us? My office door's always open. And just on about that, my old senior leadership team were always like, "Oh yeah, the door's always open for you," but then they put a key lock, a keypad lock, a key code on their door to their office. So if you needed to go up and speak to somebody, you actually couldn't. They were physically, the door was locked.
yeah,
And I remember I was upstairs because our senior management was upstairs, and we were up in the back office for some reason. And I just went and used the loo. I used the forbidden toilet for a piss, and I got pulled by a senior officer who basically said, "Under no circumstances are you allowed to use basically like the same restroom we use, because we discuss all management and tactics and everything else. And you're basically dirt. You go downstairs and use the toilet. You can't." I was like, "Mate, I just had a piss. What's with the fucking third degree? What's with the bollocking?" And when you're talking about a leader who you can follow into battle, I know who I would follow, and I know who would be there looking after me, rather than the person who say they're there to look after you, but they don't know your name, they don't know anything about you, and they would throw you under the bus at the first instance they get if it meant they look better. And it's the whole nepotism side of policing when it comes to senior management. It's not how good of a leader are you, it's how much do you fit in with that in crowd, which is a massive problem. And I think, Ben, I think this is why people find us why people like our content and people like the things we talk about is because we've left now. We know all the problems. We've now got a platform. We can now bang the drum and raise the issues to the people who are there to make a proper difference. But either people don't tell them or they don't hear it. Because what used to happen with my old force is that the chief constable used to come round. It's just funny, reminding me of what you said before. The chief constable used to come round and be like, okay, I want to hear from the officers on the ground. I want to hear from the constables and the sergeants. What are the issues which you're facing day to day? And what do I need to do to fix it? And anybody who would tell them something which the senior officers didn't want to be raised would never make it into that meeting. Or if you did, if you were going to walk in, you get a little whisper in your ear. Don't say anything what he doesn't want to hear. Don't say anything what will make us look bad. Don't say anything, but just tell him everything's fine. Now that chief constable wants to hear that feedback. They want to hear where they can be improving. But the people underneath them who are in charge of making sure everything runs smoothly, if anything from the bottom comes up to them and says, this isn't working correctly, that makes them look bad. So they're going to get their ass kicked. So it's in their best interests, if they're doing a shit job at leadership, to not let that come to light for their boss because that makes them look bad. So we have that disconnect. And I was speaking to Ian Cook about it. And one thing what we kind of thought would be way to a good way to beat that chain of command, that blockade, what's in the way, is if chief officers actually still went out on patrol, even just like once a month, they still went and did a night shift, or they did a nighttime economy shift, or they did a shift on a busy Friday night in the town centre, or even just a fucking day shift, where everything's a bit slower, you got the appointments, you got everything else. I think if that was to come into fruition, if that was to become a thing, that would allow those officers to see with their own eyes the problems that are faced, and not needing to rely on all these gatekeepers making sure that the right message is relayed all the way to the top. If the people at the very top are out there doing their thing. And I used to like, I mean, the old commander of my old station, I used to have my reservations and criticisms to the way how they would work. But one thing I can never hold against them is they knew everyone's name, and they would regularly go out on a Friday night or on the day shift, and they'd go out and they'd pair it with a bobby and they'd go into jobs, they'd lock up, and it was nice to see that, because you feel supported. You feel they're not just in the ivory tower upstairs, they're on the ground dealing with the jobs, same as everybody else. So, Ben, just on that, so what we have on this, we have something called the story of the week. All right, and it ties in quite nicely to what we've been talking about, actually. And that is, a growing number of police forces are being told that police are not allowed to have the thin blue line patch on their uniform anymore, due to complaints what they get off certain members of the public. The Met Police, Surrey Police, and someone's recently told me that Leicestershire Police are looking at banning it as well. So, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think the thin blue line patch should be banned, or do you think the bosses are looking more at the complaints of certain individuals who frankly don't like the police and not standing up for their cops? This video was sponsored by my best-selling police memoir, The Job's Fuck Secret Diary of a Police Officer. After 10 years in the police service, I finally left and I decided I need to speak out. This book does a deep dive into police corruption, the real reason why the police force is falling apart, and things you will never hear in the mainstream media. You can check it out in the link in the description of this video. You could also grab some merchandise and support me on Patreon. And now, without further ado, enjoy the video.
So first of all, I think the thin blue line badge needs to be a part of the official uniform. It needs to be either stitched into the uniform, given on a badge or a Velcro patch. It needs to be available to everyone in every single uniform, from motorcycle kit to PSU kit. And it needs to be shown it's there for a certain reason. What you basically outline is the fact that auditors, and let's not cut a thing here, auditors are shitbags. They're always cover the face up because they've always got CRO numbers. They've already been in cells. They already know the sketch. Not one of them is a normal person. If they don't get the bite they want, all they do is come out with abusive behaviour. And for a police officer or a senior leadership member or someone to bow down to these people, they're not members of the public, they're just weirdos. To bow down to these and say we are going to get rid of a badge to support officers, I think it's absolutely disgusting. First of all, it's not a gang badge in any way, shape, or form. It's officer.
That's what you always hear, isn't it? Oh, it's a fucking gang badge.
No, it's officer supporting a charity for fallen officers. and saying that the thin blue line's getting thinner because these officers have fallen. And it's a charity, it's a registered charity, and it's a charity, and they do great work. And that should be supported by every bobby in the UK. And it should be part of the actual uniform when they get given them from stores. What the forces are about, and I've said this before, they're scared of their own shadow. They're scared someone is going to say something to them. But let me give you, I'm still on this, but let me give you an idea. So years ago, we had a police station. A gentleman came in for something, can't remember what it was, and he got kicked out in the morning. I think he was charged, but even if we were anything, it was something, might have been drunk disorder, beats a piece or whatever. It was that sort of thing. Anyway, grown man, fine, no issues at all. He's then set off walked home, he's gone to half at town, and he's decided to cross somewhere that's not on a crossing. And where he's crossed in the wrong place, he's been hit by a car and he's killed. So that's classed as death in police contact. Why?
Mm.
What's that? What has that got to do with the police? But someone somewhere has shit the pants and said, what we'll do is someone, when the release from custody, we will now take the blame. Why are we taking the blame? You're a grown-ass adult. I understand if it's a child and you pick the child out and you take the child home. I understand it's a vulnerable lady or a vulnerable member of the public, or an old person, someone with mental health issues. I understand that you take them home. When a grown ass man who is fine gets hit by a car because somewhere they've decided to cross, and sorry they lost a life, but that is nothing to do with a police. That is not a death in police custody, and the police organisation should be turning around and saying, we are not dealing with shit like this anymore. They should be turning around and saying, we are the police. Yes, we're accountable to people. Yes, we're accountable to the nation. And if you want to do it, the IOPC or whatever it's going to be. But this is the uniform, and we are wearing this uniform, and we do not care to the fact that a moaner or an auditor, because if you lined up all the British public, probably 95, if not more percent, would say, we like what it stands for and we want you to wear it. All you'll do is you get moaners saying, you've done this, you've done that. But can I just bring this up as well? People are saying you've damaged the flag, you've ruined the flag, you've taken a picture. Did anyone say that when BMW put on top of the minis in black and white? Did anyone fucking moan then? Because it were in black and white, black and grey. It were all over Wimmers in black and. Did anyone moan? Not one person moan. Take that off there. When it's done on any other context, any other flag, no one moans. It's because it's the police, and what people have is they've got an image of the police. And yes, there's been some horrendously bad police officers that have brought the force into massive negative light. Those should be literally, their names shouldn't ever be spoken again. The learning curve and what they've done should be cast ironly put into fruition so it never happens again, and that sort of thing. But what about all the 99.9% of bobbies that are good bobbies that turn up
Mm.
and want to do good and want to help people, that aren't classed as tyrants, aren't classed as being two-tier, two-faced, two this, two that? They're literally good people that want to make a difference in society. You cannot tell me that the members of the public don't want to support them, and they do. What happens is, though, again, people like Mike Rowley and all these other people, they're scared to death because they've got people like the Mayor of London, they've got other people in the case, they've got this. And back to what I've just released a video, and I'm not dropping stuff from you, but just released a video on my channel, which is on two-tier policing. And it's about the fact that it exists, two-tier policing exists, because it's been government-led. And whatever the
Is
government
that with
wants,
Ian Cook?
yeah. So
Yeah, I'll watch that one.
watch it. It's nothing to do with the bobbies. It's what the government want. So if you've got
Yeah.
a party political leader in the force, such as a CC or anything like that, watching on chief, they're going to implement the views. You've got Sadiq Khan, who's a Labour, basically employed role, and is a Labour initiative led. How is that going to be fair on the people that are under him? That's saying you will do it this way. It should have no connection with any government body at all, being the
Mhm.
chief leader. And that chief leader should turn around and say, this is what's going on for my staff. This is what's good for my staff. And I support my staff. And those bobbies at the top need to grow a backbone who are a force. We're not a fucking service. We're not a social service. We've had calls, which you'll probably have. Hello, West Yorkshire Police. Hello, I'm in Leeds. I've got no money. Come pick me up. I've had a piss up. I want to get back to Keighley, which is 20 miles away. Well, no. Well, if you don't pick me up, I'm gonna commit suicide. I'm gonna hurt myself. You've now got a duty of
Yeah.
care. All right, then
Yeah.
we'll come and get you. Because if you died, which half, it should be fuck off, and you've ring me again. You're going to be getting done for miscommunications. Blah 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 blah. Go away, and then that frees up that officer to go to proper 999 calls and proper emergencies. But again, the force is too scared to say no. I remember so many jobs on traffic of horses running around fields and into the roads, and I'm like, it's emergency. Why is it emergency? Well, it's a traffic job because a horse is on a road. How the fuck is that a traffic job? What has that got to do with the police? The traffic had stopped, and then I say, yeah, well, the road's obstructed. What do I know? I ride motorbikes. What do I know about horses? What do you want me to do? John Wayne it? Get a rope round its neck? Why are you phoning the police? It's nothing to do with it. But what people won't do is just say, unless it's a crime being committed, unless there's life at stake, or there's a criminal act going on for someone's life, property, or whatever, and then he's investigating, you don't ring 999, ask for the police. You wouldn't do it for fire brigade. You wouldn't say there's a horse out in the street, can have fire brigade or an ambulance and say, well, listen, all to do with us. Why has it got to do with the police? These people need to grow backbones and make slimline the police, making the bobbies go to less jobs unless they're criminal jobs or life permitting jobs or, like I said, RTCs or whatever it is, and stand up for those bobbies. And one of the main things is this badge. And this badge represents trust, it represents community with all its officers. And not only that, it represents pride. And that's what really gets me. You're taking off a bobby, you're kicking them in nuts, basically. You're saying,
You're basically saying, "I don't support you."
yeah, I don't
That's what
support
I say.
you or any fallen officers. So I'm asking you now to go out on a night shift and give your life for me, but I'm not supporting you for it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
it's bullshit.
No. And then
It's
I look at stuff now, and I've been there umpteen times since I've come out of the job. Now, if I see an old woman being attacked, if I see a woman being led into a body pulled, or a child being pulled into some woods, and the worst is probably going to happen, yeah, I'll be getting intervened. But I see shoplifters, I see fucking shoplifters wrestling with the security guards, I see people fighting on doorsteps, pubs, and stuff like. Nothing. I'm not getting involved. I'm a member of the public now. That is completely different. But I wouldn't turn around and say the police need to do something for me. Society needs to get a grip of itself and understand that it's got a code of ethics the society needs to live by. Stop making emergency services your be all and end all. Stop making emergency services your lifeline for stuff. And I don't mean lifeline as I'm going to commit suicide. I mean as in lifeline as, oh, I can't get home. I've had a good night out, but I can't get home. I'm going to ring police. It doesn't work like that. And they
well,
wouldn't.
they know the buzzwords to say, don't they, Ben? They know,
Yeah.
like you said,
But
if I say I'm going to top myself, then well, the police now have to come out. Like fucking hell, I had one where it was a mum ringing up saying, "Oh, my kid's out of control. They're not doing what I want, and basically, I'm a shit parent, and
yeah,
I've not raised my kids proper, and and I want the police to come round here and bollock him." I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I got that job through. I was like, fuck am I go? I'm not doing that
yeah.
because we want the police to be somebody who someone can call for help, not to be seen as purely a punitive force. Now, I said, "No, I'm not going to that." And my sergeant rang them up and said, "Oh, we're not going." And because the lady kicked off, so I was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to go." It's like, I'm not going. Like, that's not when we're not there to parent your fucking kids. We're there to sort them out as adults when you fail to parent them. So,
How many calls or how many lives are lost? How many calls do we miss? How many offences are gone undetected because we cannot go because we're at a shit, meaningless job that the police shouldn't be there for in the first place?
mhm,
It's not for that. The police were there to detect crime and obviously look after people. And I mean by that, I mean you're getting burgled, robbed, murdered, raped, whatever it is. We're
yeah,
not there to pick you up. We're not there to get you a pizza. We're not there to get you a taxi. We're not there because and the amount of jobs I've got, I'm a woman in the house on my own. I can hear someone outside, and it's the neighbour. It's the neighbour, but they'll say on the phone it's like a 115 in progress. They've said it's an attempt burglary, and you get them burgers. Next door neighbours having a barbecue in back garden, and she hates him, and they've had a neighbourhood feud on for years. MPT have been involved, and you get there, and you're like, just while you're here, obviously I've got this list, and PC and PCSO's dealing with it, and you're like, I've come in a traffic car from across town at 160 miles an hour. and this is an ongoing issue with your neighbour, but neighbours in back garden waving, all right, pal, how are you doing? You're right, is your phone again? And you're like, members of the public and communities need to get a grip of their own behaviour. But back to the badge, I think there's massively a confusing issue now about the police and about where we stand and what we do, because no one knows if we're too soft and we don't deal with it, we're too soft and we're two tier. If we deal with it and we're forceful, we're ever handed. If we let
Mhm.
someone march and not the other one march, we're again two tier. If we don't turn up, we get bollocked. If we turn up, we get bollocked. We're in an Owen situation. Not only that, members of the public, like auditors, don't like us. We're getting bobbies who are willing to grass us up over us not doing anything in the first place. And third of all, SLT are coming down on us for doing no. And we're like, we're just getting shit from everywhere. But when I joined, it was fucking brilliant. It were a brilliant job, a brilliant place to work. Everyone had your back. And back to this leadership thing, run about. I know some really good. I'm not on about all SLT. I know some really good inspectors, chief inspectors, superintendents, and if they watch this, they'll all know who I'm on about. I know, but I know some really shit ones, and I've been there at certain jobs where I've had a chief inspector come to me and say, "I don't know what I'm doing," and then you roll up in traffic car, 19 years service, chief inspector's got 15 in. I don't know what I'm doing. And you're like, right, put a block on there, do this, do that. Just get as much stuff here as you can do, boss. Do this, do this. And inspector, what do you need, Ben? You can see eyes have gone in their head. What do you need, Ben? What can I do for you, Ben? Can you just do this, 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 and this? And you're thinking, I can't pass the sergeants. Why am I doing your job? I'm a PC, but why am I doing your job? What a role should be is like a bit like in the army. You get your promotion through the work you do. So
Mhm.
in theory, I'd have probably been an inspector, but you can either be an inspector and just do what you do, or you can be an inspector and have the role profile. So you'll do duties, you'll do this, you'll do that, you look at crimes. I don't want to look at crimes. I want to be out in the fucking traffic car doing what I do.
Yeah.
Why, if I'm going to jobs then as a lead SIO and I'm telling 15 bobbies what to do and I'm telling chief inspector, why am I getting paid to do that? What I should just do is say, well, what do you want me to do, boss? I'm a traffic cop. And they're the ones that I think shouldn't be doing what they do. Now I've had other way around where I've had inspectors, chief inspectors, and they are fantastic. They'll just literally you get to job, they know everything they're doing. They're the bobbies that should be in charge. They're the bobbies, like I said, the ones that are promoted through their experience, the knowledge, the how good they are at the role. They're the ones that should be in charge of these decisions, like the thin blue line badge. They're the ones that will be saying, "You wear that badge and you wear it with pride." And if you've
Mhm.
lost it, come to my office because I've got 50 more stacked up in my drawer, and I'm going to get. And you can have one for each shoulder, and I'll give you one of them.
Do you really struggle with unwinding after a shift? You walk through the door completely exhausted, crawl into bed, you sit and scroll on your phone, getting annoyed that you have to be up in a few hours for that quick turnaround. Well, I have something that I've created that can help you and it's completely free. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen now to download my free support guide for shift workers. You will also receive daily emails filled with practical advice from mental health, burnout, boundaries with the job, and rest and recuperation. Take back control of your life today and stop letting a job take everything from you. I saw a video about on the thin blue line thing. It was one of these auditors fucking standing there and he's like, that's not part of your uniform, I demand you take it off. And the Bobby was like, I don't want to take it off, I'm not gonna do it. And then he went, all right, Sergeant, instruct your officer to take it off, he's not allowed it on. And the sergeant fucking buckled and went, yeah, you need to take that off now.
Nope.
And then the auditor's going, all right, nice one. I'm in charge then.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Nope.
that. And when they turn around and say it's a gang badge, how can a gang accumulated of the public who take up the vocation to serve the public be a gang against the public? That doesn't make sense to me. And with you saying about the mini and the it's a desecration of the Union Jack. Right, okay, well, when the NHS were flying their version of the Union Jack, people were screaming in doctors' faces. On when it's Remembrance Day and you got the army crest, which is a depiction of the Union Jack, you don't get people screaming in their faces saying that you can't remember your fallen, uh, but it's okay to do it for the police. And they say, "Oh, the police shouldn't be." Yeah. One thing which I can understand some argument with it is because it might be seen as a political symbol. And when you get some cops who they're turning around and saying the police shouldn't be political, I agree with that.
How,
Police should be apolitical.
in your view, how do you see it? What's political, and how do you see it being political?
Well, I don't. I see it as you're supporting other officers, but that is one of the arguments that I made in that it's political. I think it goes into the whole us versus them thing. Like I said, I don't agree with it. I'm just saying the points of view of things what I've heard, because then we also have police officers. When it comes to the two-tier thing, we have police officers taking part in Pride, and then we have police officers who are deemed to be more forceful when it comes to more right-wing protests against more left-wing protests, such as the thing to do with Epping and the different protests are surrounding immigration, which is obviously a hot topic at the minute. So I don't think it's a political symbol at all. I think it's a symbol of solidarity and looking after each other and showing that you're part of the blue line family. And you can look over to your colleague who's wearing that badge, knowing that while everyone's running away from the danger, you can run towards it. And that person's got your back. I think it's absolutely abhorrent and disgusting that forces are saying we want to take that badge off people when police morale and retention and mental health is through the toilet. It's just simple things like that. And also when people turn around and go, "That's not part of your uniform," well, you know what isn't part of your uniform? Then that big ass torch you've got, which the Bobby's bought himself so he can find your loved one when they go disappear in the forest, or the trauma scissors which the cops have so they can cut clothes off really quick, or a seatbelt cutter or a glass smasher. You don't get handed them when you start.
Yeah, or your boots. You don't get your boots.
So yeah, and boots as well. In some force, you don't get boots.
Yeah.
So when you get people screaming, "That's not part of your uniform, take it off." Right, okay, I'll just take off this fucking seatbelt cutter as well for when you roll your car later and your engine's starting to set on fire, you need to get out as quick as possible. Oh no, you can keep that. All right, okay, so it's just you don't like this because you don't like the police then.
Well, in 2001, all the way up to when I went in 2020, I would say anything to anybody. I mean, I've worked with some of the best bobbies around. I think, like I said, Bradford is a massively diverse place. It's full of rich people, poor people. It's full of every colour, creed, demographic you could ever think of. And all you've got to do is be kind and respectful to people. But if someone turned round like these are, and they did do, people, they'd be told to piss off. They'd be told to fuck off. And I'm not bothered when, I mean, I went on interceptors, I once in the petrol station, and there were me, my colleague, and the camera person, and about 4 cars full came of these big lads because we're in an area where, in theory, I've not been for it, we shouldn't have stopped anyone. You shouldn't. We don't stop people there because how dangerous it is. And we're surrounded, and they started trying to lay in at camera person, but they dispersed when I started shouting them, telling them to fuck off and pushing them. And it wouldn't bother me to do it again. Why? Why do we think we need to live in this world where we are robots, where we don't eat, we don't shit, we can't speak, we can't. Now, there's a difference between without fear or favour. That's me not putting. I might look at you and say, I do not like you, but I'd still have a beer with you. I'd still buy you a sandwich if you had no money, but I don't have to like you. There's a difference there. Now, if I didn't like you because I said, and I'm not going to say it, but I didn't like you because of your colour, I didn't like it because of your X, Y, and Z. Now, that's what you're not allowed to do, but I'm still allowed to have my views. I'm still allowed to say, I don't like look at that car there. It's got tinted windows and the exhaust is hanging off. Who says you can't say that? So it's the same when people. I am not talking to you. I'm a member of the public. You're not. You're an auditor. I'm not talking to you. You don't have to. Well, I demand your number. You're not having it. And I would rather get a bollocking from boss. It would not. I'd rather stand in front of the boss and say, "Would you give him your number? If not, we'll get him in office and have a chat." And the thing is with the police now, and I've said this to so many people all the time, we are losing control because we are willing to give or fold so much for the people. When you go to Spain and Guardia Civil stood there at the airport, you do not go up to Guardia Civil and say, "What's your number?" You know, I demand you talk to me, officer. You're a tyrant. First thing they do is to fold you into about 10 different pieces, beat hell out of you, and drag you into a car, and you never seen again. Now, I'm not saying that had happened in the UK, but what I'm trying to say is because they're respected. and it's like that we're not respected. The police in the UK are not respected anymore because they've gone too politicised by people above them, crime commissioners and everything, saying this is how you've got to do it. There's been so much happening in the news recently in regards to, like I said, certain events. I'm not leading on these events, but certain events where some people can do one thing and others can't. On the video, if you watch the video that I've just done with Ian, there's no box compartments. So what the police should have is a box compartment that's visible through all media, and say, "We locked Jay Dartmoor up over there for assault. We've done so, but interviewed, charged, pushed to CPS, and then it's down to CPS to fill that box in." NFA, and then you justify why it's NFA, or we're running this, and then the CPS have done this. Then it's down to courts, and the police, CPS, and courts need to be responsible for their actions. But it's not. The police are responsible for everything. The police will lock up, they'll get let off, police's fault. Police will lock up, they'll get 10 years, police's fault. Or police will lock up, they'll get a slap on the wrist, then they'll go out, police's fault. Well, what are CPS responsible for and what are courts responsible for? That needs to be open and transparent. So that builds trust back into policing. 400 people were locked up last week in Bradford. 400 people have been charged. Now, if 400 people want to get NFA'd by CPS, that's not to do with the police, and then they've got to justify why they've done it. Now, if it falls in the case of these files are shit or there's not enough, that's fine, and that's a learning curve for police. But it falls under, well, there's no space, we can't be asked, prisons are full, X, Y, and Z. That's nothing to do with the police. We need to build the police back up. We need to build the police back up to when I were a kid. And if you backchat to police, I'm not being funny, you got a slap round head. Didn't make me a criminal. Didn't make me any bad, any worse. I mean, made me a better man. Made me want to go out and protect people for 19 years, risk my life, lock up murderers, rapists, and everyone else. Where if they don't do that now, look at everyone now that thinks they can just go and beat officers up, think they can go riot wherever they want, do whatever, because that structure in people's lives is gone. People, it starts at home, and they need to have that structure of the police are there, and the police are there, and they will be locking you up. Not the fact that they're a joke, they're being told to take the badge off, and that's where society is going wrong. And it's going wrong, and if we don't get a grip of it soon, it's gonna be there's gonna be no hope of ever getting it back. And I've said this to I've said it to powers that be, and again, when it all goes wrong, you can stand back and say, "Well, I've said so. I'm not doing me anymore."
I'm really worried about the future of policing, Ben, and I'm really worried because the the Fed put out something recently, and why this wasn't front page news everywhere, I don't know. But they put on expected resignations of about 10,000 officers a year coming up in
Well,
the near future.
in the podcast I did last, not this one, last one with Ian, I think there's something like 9,600 join per year, 9,100 leave. So when they say we've got 10,000 new officers in, they haven't. They've got like 400. And that's what people don't get. Because no one's retention anymore. They don't want to pay pensions. They don't want to pay the wages. They don't want to be responsible. They're giving people these degrees, which doesn't make them a good officer. What they should do is have a direct line straight away from the Army, Navy, and Air Force. So if you're coming out of Air Force, Army, and everything else, you have one quick interview, and that's it. You don't need to do your fitness test because you're fit enough. You don't need to do obviously your back checks because you're already in this. Yes, if you've been dealt with by the MPs and you've done something for a criminal offence, you're not going to get through. But you could have an intake straight from Army, Navy, and Air Force there, up in your ranks straight away, up in your force, up in your what the alphas will do at the jobs. But again, I'm not running stuff, and what I say sometimes, well, most of the time, does fall on deaf ears. But you can only do what you want, but they don't see it. No one sees it, and I think it's only from inspector level down they see the damage that is being caused at the moment. And the wages weren't what they were. The reputation of the police isn't what it was. When I joined again 2001, you were classed as being, wow, he's a bobby. He's got a great job. He's got a great future. He's got a great life. He's got a great pension. And now it's an embarrassment. You go work at Aldi for 40 grand a year. And I think you
Yeah.
joined police and it's like 28, 29. And I just
I
think,
know someone who left the cops. They were about 3 years in, and he said, "I've just got a job." Because he left, he said, "I've got a job working as a manager in B&M, and I'm on the same money." It's
yeah,
like, how the fuck is that okay? Like, I think I did some research on this. I think police officer wages in real terms have actually dropped by about saw a few different numbers ranging from 5% to 20%, but let's take an average of 12%. That means cops are now expected to do more with less for less money.
Yep.
And like when I left the job, I walked into a job working from home uh, on the same money, much less responsibility. And it's like, right, well, why am I going to miss birthdays? Why am I going to miss Christmases and everything else when I can do this job where I'm not being spat at? I'm not being, every decision I make's not being scrutinized. Was I a bit rough with that bloke then who was trying to kick fuck out of me and I put him to the floor and some dickheads caught it on camera? And now I'm looking all over TikTok or whatever with armchair detectives having a go at me. Why would you do that if you're not going to be compensated for it? And not even the money, mate, the backing from your senior leadership team, and it just goes full circle, doesn't it? It's people wanting to look after their own interests. Because I'm all right, Jack. I'm on 80 grand a year in my ivory tower somewhere. I'm all right. And when all the chaos is settled, I'll still be all right because I don't need to stick my neck out for you. And I think professional standards are massively overzealous now. I think because we've had a lot of, I say a lot, because we've had some very notoriously bad officers in the news. I think professional standards have just gone on absolute overdrive and overkill, and they're diving on cops for literally fucking anything now. I know a Bobby who got in trouble because he was part of a WhatsApp group and somebody shared something in the WhatsApp group. That person got investigated, and then everyone else in that WhatsApp group, because they didn't challenge it, it wasn't even anything severe, but somebody said it goes against the standards. So everyone else who was in that WhatsApp group got absolutely hounded as well.
Mm.
And it's like, where's the protection for cops? We want cops. We need good cops. And the world absolutely crumbles and goes into chaos if we don't have police officers and good police officers who were there to protect you. I'm scared that one day I'm going to pick up the phone and say, there's someone trying to break into my house here. And they're going to go, oh, well, we don't actually have anyone to send to you because we've all fucked off.
Yeah.
And then the senior leadership will be like, where did it all go wrong? Well, we've been screaming this for years, that cops are not robots. They have breaking points. They're human beings.
Yep.
And I mean, I get loads of messages about that. Is that same sort of thing? And if anyone does have anything they want to talk about, they want to send in, Instagram, the Jobs Fuck Podcast, or email thejobpod25@gmail.com. So I've got, fucking hell, mate. What do you think about this one? So we'll get on to the rants and stories now. So one of them is, hello, mate. Love your podcast. I have a couple of stories for you to discuss anonymously, of course. Of course. A certain police force began issuing to all student officers a purple welfare card that they can keep in their pockets. This card was to be presented by the student officer to the custody sergeant when they felt intimidated or anxious when booking a prisoner in. What's your thoughts on that? For me, you're in the wrong fucking job.
So again, I'm not going into. I just bring across the armed services. Bring across. You're taking people out of school. They're literally out of school. They're out of university. They've never had a job. They don't know what it's like to be challenged. They don't know what it's like to be. And I don't mean like, oh, you can't do it. I mean, on a fight, you don't know what it's like to be tackled to the floor. You've got to learn the craft. And I know there's people in for, and I'm not going to go into it because they'll know. There's people that have got to carry teddies around with them. There's people that have got to
I've
carry
heard of that.
Rubik's cubes around with them. There's people
I've
that
heard
have
that.
got to they can't be in a conflict situation. So they can go out, they can police, and then as soon as it gets to the point of dealing, they've got to radio up and get someone there. Now, again, I'm all up for Disabilities Act. I were on it with my kidney stones,
Hmm.
but it still doesn't stop you going out and being a kick-ass Bobby. And you've got to learn the job. You have got to be on patrol and learn the job. And that's the only thing you can do is go and learn. And if you're not comfortable and you're not strong and you've got to think, is this the right job for me? I cannot go join the SAS. I'm too old. I've got a knackered back. I'm not fit enough. I've got complex PTSD. If I went and they went, oh yeah, come on, join Ben, but yeah, but I can't jump out of a plane, boss, and I don't like guns; they're too loud for me. Yeah, but we'll get someone to jump out with you, and then someone else can do all shooting. Well, what am I here for? You,
What you see, yeah, you have to be able to do the. And I'm same as you, mate. I'm all for making reasonable adjustments for people depending on people's individual needs, but there has to be a baseline There has to be a base. I mean, I heard of one the other day where somebody failed the warm up test on the bleep test at 1.6. 1.6, they were gasping for air,
No,
and because of retention and because they're trying to get people in, they're allowed to continue the
yeah,
process. You're already saying that officer's not fit enough. There was there was one where a sergeant was telling me that they had two colleagues on their shift. One of them was brand new, one was experienced and had quite a few years in. They went to a DA job. The bloke comes out, starts fucking swinging. The cop's rolling around on the floor. They look to the colleague. The colleague is scared because they've never experienced conflict before. And they're in the car. They've locked themselves in the car, shouting for backup. You're in the wrong job.
yeah.
Like,
There's,
at
I
any
mean,
time, someone can just, a situation can just get volatile. And I'm not saying you have to be fucking Rocky Balboa and be able to knock people out, but don't crumble if someone starts having a go at you.
there were, I can't, well, again, I won't go into so much as a lady that I know called Emma, and she works at Shipley. She's brilliant. She's very small, very petite. But we went to a pub fight once in a place called West Royd, and it's a right shithole. If anyone's from Bradford, they know West Royd. It's a right shithole. And it was like two saloon doors, like in Cowboy World. And
Brilliant.
I remember we went in, a pub was fucking hell. When we went in, we thought, I'm going to get stabbed in the neck here. It's this bad. And we locked this lad up. And by the time we got him to first set of double doors, it just went. And about three big, I'm 6'2" and I'm 17, 18 stone, so I'm not small. These fucking lads went on the floor, and then it were a bit like an old pile on. And all I remember is Emma coming through doors at like a 45-degree angle through air, arms up, legs up, just screaming like, yeah. And then she got involved and following people everywhere and got locked up. And she said, it's not about like I said, how strong you are. It's about the attitude. It's about how you
Mm.
are, how you look. And then the women there that were like, fucking hell, not getting involved with her because you
Uh,
just don't know what's going on. And it's holding the situation, it's holding the line, it's get back. I'm not saying get back, so get the foot back, or you're going to get thrown to the floor and you're going to get locked up. Not on this, well, can you just calm it down? And Emma were all over it. And there has been like now I'm not taking anything from certain officers because I've got a big fan base of officers and I love it and I love everyone that we deal with and stuff like that.
mhm,
But the people need to decide if a role is significantly good enough for you. If I mean, I think I can't remember what it was when I joined, but you had to do X, Y, and Z. You didn't have to have a driving license, but you had to do this shit so you could hold the role of constable. You need to be able to decide, right? I need to be getting in a conflict situation. And when I was shooting, if you came with me, and when I was shooting Dre, if you hadn't had a fight or you hadn't been rolling on the floor, every job would cherry pick and would get to pub fight, whatever, and I'd get you out of car and I'd be throwing you in
mhm,
there, get in there and getting pulled off that lad on the floor, get in then. And if you end up then struggling, we'd all jump in and help. But you've got to learn what adrenaline feels like. You've got to learn when red mist comes in. You've got to learn how to control yourself. Because if not, this is when it goes wrong. And officers will do something silly and end up getting themselves fired or getting locked up for assault. You've got to push your experiences. And again, we've said this, the stigma needs to come away. We need to go back to a proper old school joining like plan, if you can put it that way, of X, Y, and Z, life experience, what you're going to bring to the job, why you want to do it, and again, get armed forces in, and just make it so when bobbies are turning up, they're turning up and they're like, right, hi, you all right? How are you doing? Well, this man's assaulted me there. Rather than looking over and going, we shouldn't be getting involved in this, should be like, right, come on, come with me, you're locked up. But there's so many videos that go around that are viral of people trying to lock someone up and they're swinging off both the shitbag's arms and they're
mm,
doing the one day empty hand skills thing, saying get back and trying to do a leg strike and with a baton, and it's just not working. But as we've said in one of the other videos, why do we have training days on Section 39 of the Who Gives a Fuck Act when what they should be doing is getting rid of that? Yeah, what I'm saying, getting rid of that, and every day you should lose an hour a day off your working time, split this shifts up. So in the morning you get in on an early, you have an hour gym session. On a
mhm,
late before you session, you have an hour gym session, and it's same on a night. You have an hour gym session, then you go for your shift, and that's your work time. You have a dedicated hour. Training day should be an open forum for learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, locks, holds, takedowns.
Or at least, yeah, some kind of takedown or something.
Yeah, just to have something to give you that extra few seconds. And then what you have, you've got people that have studied martial arts throughout all their lives that are all bobbies. We've worked with a load of them. I used to be one of them. We should have an area that's in the force, that's in that station, that's padded. And then what you should be able to do is, I'm on early at 4 o'clock. I don't have to go home. So I'm from 4 till 6. I'm doing a bit of ground fighting. And you're coming in, and then
Mhm,
everyone's just learning that little bit more.
mhm.
And then, as Ian Cook says, I'm not being funny, but if you get told you are only at level 1 on the bleep test and you're failing because you're puffing and panting, you either need to now start thinking about what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're performing, and whatever. If you're just eating takeaways 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you have now got your official warning. If you don't pass it within 5 months now, I'm sorry, but you can't. You're out. And I don't want to be mean, but there's a difference between if a Bobby has got something that bad that they can't walk, that they shouldn't be on frontline duties. They should be in ACR, they should be on help desk, or they should be doing something of that nature, and then leave the ones that to the foot chases and everything that can do it, which is fine. I've got a back surgery in on 9th of October, so that's I think a week and a half now. One of my
Yeah.
knees is gone. I can't run properly. I can't wrestle. If I was still in job now, I'd be pulled off frontline duties. I wouldn't be trying to
Mhm.
mollycoddle it and say I can do it. I won't be doing a fitness test. I can't physically do it. I can't run. My knee gives out. My back. I can't wrestle. I can't do anything because I'm physically ruined because of what the job's done to me. So I'd be off frontline duty straight away, but I'd own it. I need to say I can't do this, and irrespective, find me a role then. And if they say, well, there's no role, you need to get your fitness up to level. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do then. But if there were nothing physically wrong with me, it was just like if I didn't put any gym time in or I
Yeah.
didn't put any effort in. There's unfortunately there's no excuse for that anymore.
Some of the stories I've heard, mate, and some of the bobbies I've worked with, great cops, but just physically, like it's like I look at some of them and go, how are you passing the fitness test? If and it's not just a case of being able to run so far. If you have to hold on to somebody or wrestle with them, it's physically exhausting. It's so
Yeah.
taxing. And not even if they're trying to hurt you, but what if they're having a mental health episode and they're trying to fucking jump in front of a car, or they've got ABD, and the red's completely gone and they're off the tits on drugs and they're having like psychosis.
And can I just cut in there, Jay, and say again, I'm not on about obese people, and I'm not because some of the strongest people I know are overweight. Some of the also most I want to say most how can I put it most gung ho people, and are willing to get
Mhm.
stuck in as some of the thinnest, petitest girls I've ever met in job. So I'm not on about you've got to be a female bodybuilder, and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
mean you've got to be a stick thing. I'm on about being able to. Some of the biggest people I know are men, but they play rugby, but they can run and they are big. And what you would look at and go, they are fat, but they can still run and they can still get level 8 on fitness test. That's what I'm on about. There's a difference. I'm on about making sure you're physically fit. That's what I'm on about.
I do think they should have some dedicated gym time. My old block used to do it. Like we'd have like once a week or a training day would be you'd go and do like a hit workout at the local gym. They'd book time. It was ace because one, it's you're getting your fitness up, but it's also team building too. Like you're working out with your team and you're working together. Um, Rather than like you said, doing some shitty end count in of some I don't know, some obscure Section 39 who gives a fuck. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
who
gonna I'm
gives a
gonna
fuck
knit that.
about
That's
it?
great.
No one cares. No one's bothered. And then we always used to say, if you don't know it, you can't be expected to know everything. And you
Mhm.
just can't. It doesn't work like that. I'd go in and learn something. I'd come out and I'd just be like, I just don't know what I've learned. I cannot remember anything about it. Well, you are not a
Yeah.
robot. You are a human being. You have got marriages. You have got divorce. You have got kids. You've got kids that are poorly, people that act up. You might have a dying mum. You are not bothered about fucking end count. But what you
Yeah.
might want to do is have a good roll around with your mates, lift some weights, go for a run. What is better
And
than
that's
that?
great for your mental health as well.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a natural de-stressor. And I think your uniform and your presence is a big use of force in itself if
yeah.
you wear it properly. If you command that presence, it doesn't really matter how well you can fight or how fit you are. If you can convey the attitude of I'm in charge, I'm the police. I'm here to look after you. I'm here to stop bad things happening. I'm here to enforce the law if required. Often that can be enough sometimes.
Yeah,
The bobbies who I used to see who got the most assaulted, it didn't matter how big they were, how petite they were. It was the ones who couldn't talk to people,
yeah,
the ones who it was almost like they were insecure in themselves, so they had to almost be over the top. The cops who generally did the best were the ones who were very confident in their abilities and confident in their capabilities. The slip for people, I mean, personally, I think if you and I think you're on the similar vein, if you feel you need that, you might need more conflict, or you might be looking at the, the wrong kind of job role.
yeah, exactly.
So there's one here. There was an instance to which officers were deployed. When I realized my colleagues and sergeant were nowhere to be seen, I called my colleague to see where they were. They told me that they were at the station and the sergeant went to fart and shat himself and was having to do a quick shower before they left the nick. Oh no.
Well,
That's I mean, do you ever live that down?
no, I mean, I've got to admit, I've had really bad diarrhea where at point I had to do a blue light run to station, and I'd literally only just got in there. If I didn't do blue light run, I'd have been caught in
You
car.
were gone. You
The
were gone.
car would have to be deep clean, so it'd be an off service. And yeah, but again, what that sergeant should do, that sergeant should just own it, and it should be known as, or they should be known as Mister Poopy Pants. But I think that were brilliant, especially if there were no officers getting hurt. But yeah, I think that were brilliant.
I had a Bobby message me and say that. It says basically the same thing, day of IBS, and they had a blue light from the town centre. Otherwise, they were fucking. It was code brown. Unfortunately, I think a code brown should be an exemption under the Road Traffic Act. You know,
Yeah,
there's only certain things you can break the speed limit for and everything else.
yeah.
I think a code brown is
I,
an
I,
essential one.
I agree, but for emergency services only because you can't just
Oh
have
yeah,
anyone
yeah, of
in
course.
that. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, let's be honest, you don't do it. It's just that fact of if I were in car and I could fit, and I thought, hey, hang on, I can't stop this. This is on its way. The car would have been off, and you can't do that because it would cost probably £1,000 for
It's to save the
deep
force
clean.
money. That's what it is, mate.
Deep clean. I'd have had to go back home and get uniform, so you'd lost two bobbies at least as
There we go.
well.
There we go.
But yeah, yeah. So it was and it were only like 3 mile, and I just made it. And when I say just, I
Oh,
mean as in like milliseconds. My
I was
pants
going. I was
literally
going.
gone past the bit where it had made contact before it actually come out.
Oh, well, yeah, it's one of them blinkers on. Don't
Yeah,
matter what I see,
yeah,
I'm going.
yeah.
Used to be at the end of a used to be like if you was late off at custody and like you'd be driving back, it'd be like 3 in the morning. You'd be like, just no one. Oh God, he's all over the road there. Oh, I'm gonna have to stop it. Like,
It normally is in early hours because I think it's down to the routine of eating. When you eat and you're eating at after clock, your
hmm
body's not functioning right. You're eating the wrong foods. You're tired. Your body does a lot to you when it's stressed as well.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's not just about, well, I've got a jelly belly. It's just about your routine of life. And then yeah, most of it, like you said, it's when you're stressed. It's you're really tired. You're overexerted, and then your body says, "Nah, fuck this. I'm not having this inside me." And then I
There's
want
a
to let it go.
cracking book. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Ben. It's called The Body Keeps Score, and it talks about um trauma, PTSD, and stress, and how it physically changes your body. It's a fascinating book, and it talks about like neuroplasticity and how the stress hormone cortisol, how it can cause you diet issues, and of course, if you have one of them sets where your feet just ain't touching the floor, your adrenaline's up and down. You know, the smell of the clutch at the end of the shift. I mean, you were traffic, so you got all the automatic Gucci cars, didn't you?
Only at the end, not at the beginning. We had to learn to drive properly, you know.
Oh well, these are all automatics now.
Yeah,
Even the response cars were all automatic, and I'd
right,
never driven an automatic prior to joining the cops.
right.
So they stuck me in an automatic car, and I'm like, how the fuck do we get going? I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Our first cars were stuff like T5s, VXRs. We had an Amiga, we had a Frontera, we had original Skoda Octavia VRSs. So they're all manual. It's only when we got to BMWs that they started to be automatic.
Well, hey, you're a better man than me with your driving. I wouldn't ever want to race you, let's put it that way. Um, So here's one, and here's one. It's about a foot chase. Now, in my entire service, I never lost a foot chase. I think I had about 7 or 8. Never lost one. No one ever got away. So I was very happy with 100% record. So me and a colleague were on a foot chase. The colleague stumbles over and falls over a small boundary fence. The suspect stops, turns around, and helps the officer on his feet and accepts he's now locked up. The whole time conveying, making sure my colleague was okay and apologising for him falling from running away.
I think that's good, is that? It just goes to show, just because some people break the law doesn't mean they're criminals. There's a completely different thing there. Old
Mhm.
people break the law by having Alzheimer's and put some biscuits in the bag and walk out of the shop because they've got Alzheimer's and stuff. Just because someone's running from police doesn't mean they're actually criminal. We don't know context of the story.
Yeah.
Years ago, we used to have this thing where we'd be driving through town and someone would go, "Police, run!" And I expect police, and a lot of police did, naive police, would stop car and get out and chase and say, "What are you running for?" And they'd say, "Just because I'm running." And it'd be like, "Oh,
There's a run for a
yeah."
laugh.
And they'd be like, "Bastard, I've run like 2 miles from car now." And it because of it, and it was only when you got more experience, you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not falling for that
Yeah,
one."
I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
There was
so
a there was a bit of an old sweater used to be on my block, and it was always when there was a missing person, and they'd be around the town centre fucking about with the mates. And soon as they see the police, they'd leg it. And he got to the point. He just went, "Yeah, they keep running off from us. They're in town. We're not chasing them. We're not playing the game."
yeah,
And they'd be like, "Right, we've seen them. Yeah, they look safe and well. They got a McDonald's. They're all right."
yeah, and that's how it should be. We
Yeah.
should not have people panicking over different stuff. But yeah, just because someone's running, they're not always going to be a shitbag. And it just goes to show that's respect for you there, isn't it? Then it's
There we go.
yeah, it's
Oh,
kindness.
you
Is
you all right, mate? Oh no, sorry about that. Yeah, lock me
that?
up. There we go.
I'll give you a quick foot chase. I was chasing this lad, and it were a proper action sequence from out of a Hollywood movie. And I jumped over this small fence like that. And first thing my foot hit is a gravestone
Oh
covered
no.
in moss. So all I could see were my feet in air. I went down. I hit made on float like when you have that coconut hitting sound. All those sounds made.
Yeah.
I think I knocked myself out for a second, and I skidded off the gravestone. And it were only a graveyard, probably like 50 meters by 50 meters, and it were on back of these terrace houses in Keighley. But it's where everyone took the dog to have a shit, and it was just shit alley. It was shit. There were white shit, brown shit. There were crispy shit, soft shit. There was shit everywhere. And I slid off the gravestone and I landed in as much dog shit, and it went in back of my pants. It went up my stab vest. It went in my pockets. It went in these
Oh
little pieces
no.
in the stab vest where your pockets are. It went inside of my watch. It was, and I was covered head to toe just in dog shit.
How much shit?
It was just, I'm not being funny. It were, where out dogs just shat, it were everywhere. But because I'd slid as well, it
Oh
gone all up my
no.
back. It gone into my pants. It went back in my ear, my hair. And it was like, oh, and I just remember getting to, but they put to me up in a van. I was still concussed. They took me to the police station. They were fucking hosing me off outside, and I'm like, my life's shit.
Do you know what the police he said? So
Wow.
a lad would tell him he was a cracking cop, and he went over to be CID. He betrayed the front line, bastard. Anyway, so I'm going to get a load of emails now of people from CID going, "You prick." Um. Anyway, so he told me that he was walking around, and I mean, the lad was beautiful. He was a very sharply dressed lad, and he's walking around in his nice suit and everything else, what he'd bought from somewhere. Anyway, a few hours later, I saw him again. He was in his blacks, you know, in his frontline uniform. So I said to him, I said, "Where's your nice suit going? Like, I was enjoying looking at you, mate." Like, and he went, "Well, I've just been to this house, and it was one of those houses where you wipe your feet on the way out."
Yeah.
And I walk in, and the little kid runs over to me with like all shit all over the hands. So I'm like, "Oh, I managed to avoid that." I then went and sat down, speaking to somebody, and there was all crap all over the couch. I managed to avoid all that. And my downfall was the dog. So as I'm walking out, this big, massive, bumbly, happy, loving Labrador runs over to me, covered head to toe in shit, dog shit.
Fucking hell.
Runs over to me, starts jumping all over me, like covers me head to toe.
Fucking hell.
So we said, my clothes, my nice suit is currently in an evidence bag in my car, just covered in dog shit. Fuck me. Some of the stuff you deal with. Um, Okay, so this one's slightly different. So I'm finding the types of crimes we always deal with so repetitive with no real outcomes or long-term solution. I feel pressure to do stop searches for no real reason other than to do them. No one seems to want to be there. A lot of the team seem to be looking for other jobs, and the longest serving officer um, is 7 years, followed by 3 to 4 years. And the pension isn't that good. And you think 35 years is a long time. I'd be 66 before we even got it. I'm thinking of leaving. Firstly, no one can force you to do a stop search, regardless of what the bosses say, what their quotas are, and everything else. They can say we want you to do more stop searches, be a bit more switched on, but they can't. If you don't feel the grounds are there, they can't force. Same with the lockup. If you don't feel it's justified, you can't. They can't force you to lock somebody up. But that's pretty sad. I think. Like I know when I left, I had just under 10, and there was some people who were similar to me, and then there was like a massive drop off then because on the response, that's where people land. So naturally, that's where people leave, and I think there needs to be more incentives to keep people on response. But what would your advice be to that cop, then?
Oh, does it say how long they've got in?
Doesn't say. No, doesn't say. But it said the longest serving in the.
So
Oh, I
there's
think
going to be
they've
young.
got 7. I
They've
think
got
they've got
7,
7.
right? I personally, there's a lot of people that use the word jump ship, but there's in the ship that we've got, there's a lot of different rooms. So I personally, and I've said this before, look for a change in what you want to do inside the job first, because what people do,
Yeah.
they get disillusioned. Because I always say you've got to do 5 years on patrol to earn you earn the wool on your back, so to speak, before you go into a specialist role like traffic. And I know people go straight after 2 years and X, Y, and Z. That's fine. That's their prerogative. But then if you're going to be in ops for a long time, you're going to lose all your core basic skills. Is it a
Mhm.
burglary? Is it a found on? Are we found committing? But you can still do certain things by changing the role. So I'd change the role personally. And
Yeah.
there's so much roles now in the job, from being test purchaser to being intel led to being, like I said, either your ops, your CID, your crime unit, your surveillance. I'd go do something different. And what I'd do as well is I've got a mate, I won't mention his name because I can't do, who I went to traffic after 5 years. He went to response, but then he's gone to ACT team, which are our version of SWAT. And now he's one of the lead firearms instructors for UK. They're coming up with new firearms
Nice.
plans. He works alongside SAS. He hasn't picked up a radio in the last, 21 years. He says he'd have to be tutored again. He doesn't know what the definition of burglary is. But that's not what he's needed for. He's needed for when a tourist comes out as lone shooter. They're one of the best there is in the UK. They work alongside protecting the royal families. They work alongside, their skills are, you cannot buy the skills and experience he's got. If he had left
Mhm.
that role, as though the other people that Woody works with, it'd be so dangerous, not only for national security in the force in general. So it's not, well, you should go and learn better. Well, no, you shouldn't. He's done that. He's learned his craft, but then he's gone and he's never looked back. And it's his best thing he's ever done. Takes him all around country. There's videos of him doing certain things that you think, well, please pay you to do this. And this is actually his role. It's like, yeah, this is what we do. And I just think the police isn't just uniform beat. Once you've
Mm.
earned your skills and once you've earned the wool on your back, I'd move. Now, if you move and you're in a different role, I'd 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 think, right, if it's not for me, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Life's only here once. It's not a dress rehearsal. Um, you, you've only got a limited amount of time. I blinked, and I'm now 50 next year, and
Happy birthday.
yeah, thank you. And it still feels like it were only yesterday I joined, and the amount I've seen and I've done. Just think about not only your own life but your future. And if it's not for you, there's thousands of other jobs out there. Don't worry about it. It's
Mhm.
just a job.
Mhm.
Just a job.
People can get quite institutionalized sometimes, I think, where they stay on a unit which they hate. And it's like the pension trap as well. Like, say if you absolutely despise every aspect of the job, you've done it for 20 years, 15 years, it's like countdown. It's like you're
Yeah,
on countdown till you can finally be free.
yeah,
And I always say to people, like, similar to what you said, and I love that phrase you used. We're only here once. It's not a dress rehearsal.
yeah,
Life's too short to be miserable.
Yeah.
If you can do another role in the organization which you enjoy and you find it more fulfilling and you're better supported, go for it. If you do that and you still despise it and you're just falling out of love with the job completely, then okay, look at something else. One thing which fell foul of was being too valuable. So on my unit, I moved from response to like an investigation unit. And because of my level of experience, the training I had, the different skills I'd accumulated, which were quite useful for that team, I fell out of love with the role I was doing and I requested to move a few times to different units and they constantly got blocked. It was like, yeah, you can move in 12 months' time when we get X, Y, and Z through, or you can go to this other unit which you don't want to go on, but they need staff as well. So I was like, right, okay, well, you leave me only one option then, and that is to walk. So sometimes people can be too valuable
Mm.
to lose, but that's the issue of the organization for not training more people to the standard you're at. So yeah, that's what we'd say with that, guys. That's what we'd say. um okay, there's a few others here, just let me have a quick look. Which one's this? Oh, so here's a traffic one for you, so you're the man for this. I wonder if you've ever experienced this. So, hi Jay. So I'm not in the police, but something really embarrassing happened to a friend of mine. She told me that her friend, it's always a friend, isn't it? She told me that her boyfriend was in the car, her and her boyfriend was in the car, and she was in the passenger seat, and her boyfriend in the driver's seat. She said that she suddenly felt horny, as you do. And the next thing she knew, she was going to town on him while he was driving on the motorway. Thankfully, he drove an automatic. Mid blowy, her boyfriend pulls her head up and has a terrified look in his eye. Confused, she looks in the rearview mirror. She seems to know a lot about this considering it was a friend.
Yeah.
She looks in the rearview mirror and the horror of the situation became apparent. She was being pulled over by the police. My friend said she didn't know if it was for what they'd been doing or another reason completely, but they both sat in the back of the police car and had to sit there for 10 minutes while the officer went to town on them, explained the dangers of sucking off a driver at 60 miles an hour. Needless to say, my friend states that she wanted to earth to swallow them whole the entire time.
At least someone gets swallowed. Um,
That's
yeah,
just fucking, but that's unlucky.
and
I mean, obviously we can't
that's
condone
her.
things like that, but
That's her. That's not a friend. That's her. She's been caught.
definitely,
Um,
100%.
words of advice, NFA all day long. Yeah, don't do it in car. If you have a crash, you're going to get hurt. And thanks for coming. You've been a right laugh. But yeah, jog on. Obviously, the amount of stuff we've seen, and nothing surprises you in traffic anymore.
Yeah,
We once a place up by us called Shipper Glen. Drove down there, and there's this big rock, and drove down one night, and man and woman is both completely naked. He's got a bent over rock, and they're giving thumbs up when we drive past. So I thought, you really see that? Drive back down all the way, thumbs up again. And we thought, do we get involved and say, this is like 3 in the morning? Is that outrage in public decency, or are they just having a good time? So anyway, left them to it.
if
Next
you
night,
walked over, they think they turn into a bloody porno, wouldn't they?
and then
Oh, and then the
once
police arrived.
once caught one of them being filmed in Bingley as well.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So and it went in some what we used to call the old cow sheds, so where they used to auction cows off. And then saw a woman at side road flagging me down. She's like, "I can hear moaning coming from in there. It sounds like someone's getting attacked." So I parked car up, went in, went through some like disused offices, turned around the corner, and bloke's got a woman against the wall, and they're filming a porno. I like.
Lovely.
I had to stand there for like 3 to 5 seconds before I said, "Excuse me." But yeah, NFA all day long. Let them have the fun.
I had one in the town centre. So we got a call over the radio. We think a woman's being attacked. So we're like, fuck. All right. So me and my sergeant, we go down this back alley and we can, as we're getting closer, we can hear these don't sound like sounds of distress. This sounds like someone's having a jolly good time. Anyway, they clearly just, they pulled the shagging in the doorway. Classy people, as you do. He looked to state, but the woman, bless her, she was like dying. So we run her through, make chat them separate. Everything's fine. And then what happens is we then get back in the carrier, and as he's walking off, he's being cheered by all his mates, like, yeah, go on, lad, waving to the police and stuff. And then we see her necking off with another lad. It's like, oh no. He's thinking he's just copped off there, but
Sloppy seconds.
yeah, dirty, dirty people, dirty people. So always wrap up, guys. That's all. That's all I'll say on a night out. So, one of my oppos was looking for a suspect. Whilst on foot, he asked a member of the public if he had seen someone matching the description of the suspect. The man replied with, "No, sorry." What my oppo failed to notice was that the guy was blind and he had a stick with a dog.
Oh, wrong, yeah.
That's cakes all day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah.
That's naughty, that.
Saying that, I once told a lot of people that I stopped on Cavendish Street at Keith. I stopped and I let this bloke walk across the street, and as I looked at him, he had one eye and he had a peg leg like in Long John Silver. It was a proper wooden peg leg from his knee
Right.
down, and he's like, well, across the road, looks at me and waved, and I looked down. He had a pit bull terrier, and the pit bull terrier had one eye and only three legs as well.
Okay. You can't
So it's
write
like
it, can you?
you always say you look like your dogs. Dogs look like owners, and I dog look
Yeah.
like that with you.
Fucking one eye, three legs. Oh, bless him. What a good boy.
Yeah, love
Okay,
it.
so one last one, and then we'll get on to some cake finds. So, went to a job where there was a naked man stealing ducks from the local pond. Had to ask a member of the public if they'd seen him. Turns out he was rescuing a duck after being attacked by a fox while losing his trousers.
Eh?
That's just like a fucking comedy sketch. That
What he did, so it sounds like he's actually taking his clothes off to go in the water to rescue a duck.
the way I read it was he's trying to rescue a duck from the pond while being attacked by uh, while the duck was being attacked by a fox, and he's lost his trousers in the process.
I
I
can
mean,
see
that's just a bad day, that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But yeah, it sounds like that does sound like a bad day, does that? That sounds like something he's probably done. Or like you said, he's taking his pants off, got in at water, and then Fox is trying to attack. But yeah. But again, like you said, you see some all sorts of signs, don't you?
You absolutely do. And people say to me, "Oh, these stories sound made up." They're fucking not. Like,
Yeah.
if you've worked in the job, you can guarantee these are definitely plausible.
Yeah.
So there was a lad on my shift who incurred a cake fine because he left his warrant card in Spain. You know, when you get on the plane, you're like, "I've got everything."
Why
Firstly, why are you taking your warrant card to Spain?
yeah, why are you taking your warrant card to Spain? And then why would you leave it in Spain? I don't get that. I when I first joined, I was proud of my warrant card in my we had a separate holder, so we had a wallet and it popped open like you see on
Yeah,
films.
yeah.
And we used to have that, and that were really good. Then you get to the point of not taking it anywhere because you don't want to be identified as a bobber. You don't. I
Yeah.
want to be identified. The only thing I would have done, I think, in my later years, I only did take it away, but I took it away with other documents in case something happened because
Mhm.
tourism went through roof, X, Y, and Z went through roof. You had all these outside agencies went in this Schengen thing or whatever it was, and they thought, I said, Millie, my partner said Bobby as well, and she said, you can imagine being somewhere, something happening, and you'd be like, you'd have to identify yourself and say, look, I'm a Bobby. Either do you
Mm.
need any help? I don't mean like a lad fighting. I mean a major incident, or is there
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
we can do X, Y, and Z? Or the amount of people then that were getting locked up on planes or getting locked up at. But like me and Millie sat down and talked about it, and when we came out, she said, "I'm not being funny. I'd only get involved now if it's something I get involved with by being a nice person.
Mhm.
Not that I get involved with by being a bobby because I won't be doing that. But if someone
Yeah,
said
yeah.
I'm playing, have you seen that recent thing on? I think it's Ryanair when bloke stood up at back and he's on Ryanair
No,
plane.
I've not seen that one.
He's shouting "Allahu Akbar" or something like that, and you're all going to die. But it's on like a Ryanair flight, and all lads
Right.
just stand up and start pummeling him and drag him to the floor. It's
Wrong audience, mate.
he's like, not on this flight, mate. You can fuck right off. And none of
We've been
this.
on it since 4 in the morning, pal. You're
Yeah,
fucked.
yeah. He just stands up and he shouts something like, "You're all going to die." I'll Akbar. And he's in his 50s. There's no threats of terrorism. There's no threats of anything. It's not safe. I think he's either drunk or he's just trying to play. But then they stand up and like, "Fuck this shit. We're all over you, son." And yeah,
I mean, I
but
don't
like
blame him.
I wouldn't want to. Yeah, again, if I didn't get involved in that, which I probably would have got involved in that, I wouldn't want to get. I wouldn't want to be at that point and say, "Look, police officer." I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
get involved in that. Does that make sense? Some things are just,
yeah.
especially where I am now and how poorly I am, we're doing certain things. I wouldn't want the responsibility because to say, "What have you locked him up for?" I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making shit up as I go along.
Well, that's basically policing, isn't it? You go, I think I know what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
think this is the right thing to do.
Well, I just asked our lass, and I'll say to our lass, I'll throw him at the floor, you lock him up.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. It used to make me laugh where like you lock someone up and your mate would go, "Me colleague's gonna say something to you now." You're like, "You
Yeah,
bastard."
yeah,
So my lock up, my job now, arsehole. After he's filled him in, put him on the floor, and you go, "Me
yeah,
colleague's gonna read something out to you." You
yeah,
prick. Collar number roulette. God love it.
yeah.
So lad on firearms on day one, buns in. So if we can read that again. Lad on firearms day one brought buns in, but they were shit, so got fined and told to bring in Krispy Kremes. Day two spent another £40 on donuts, but called the sergeant mate, so got fined again. Day three brought another £40 of donuts in, and because he'd had three fines in 3 days, got fined again for a shit first impression. the poor bastard spent the poor bastard spent 150 quid on fines before he'd finished a set of shifts.
Well, someone would say that's bullying, but that's team building. That's
That's
career
character building,
building.
that. That's what that
Yeah,
is.
it is. It is. It's team building, and it's like we always say to people when they used to, right, I'm coming on traffic for attachment. What's the first thing I do? Fucking make tea. If you
Yeah, yeah.
when you walk into office and tea's already made, they'll love you forever. And there was one lad that come and they went, right, what do you want me to do? And he says, right, get a kettle. And he went, I've been told I have to make tea. It's bullying. And then
Fuck
literally,
off.
no one went out. No, I'm not going out with you. I'm not bothering
Yeah.
going. And people say, I'm not doing that. And you're like, well, why can't I get anyone to go out with me? He says, well, we need to know that if I'm getting strangled to death and I say help, that you're going to help. We need to know that if we're in 150-mile-an-hour pursuit and I say, can you pick the radio up, please, and say vehicle failing to stop, you'll pick the radio up and say vehicle. Not that I've been told I don't need to do that. So, yeah, no one went out with him after that. So always make tea. And on your first day, people listening, always take buns in.
It was nice when I graduated from being brew bitch. So it
Yeah,
was like we had a shift of 10 to 20 cops, and the sergeant at the end of briefing is telling them, right, Jay, tea time. And I'd go around with a little post-it note and I'd spend the first half an hour making everyone a brew. And then when the next person came in, there you go, that's your gauntlet. But then you had one person turn around and go, I'm not doing that because I don't drink tea. So
yeah,
yes, but the rest of the shift does.
yeah.
Off you
We
go.
did as well. And then I said, when I first joined Keighley in 2001, I was T-Bitch for about 2.5 years. Before Dan and Chris joined, and then they took it on. And you will make tea for
Yep.
the team because the team sit there and their team will expect to have a nice brew in the morning, and it's always, and it has been, always the bottom of the run of the ladder that makes it. And if people say, I don't want to do that, well, it's back to, well, if I'm travelling past you and you're walking beat and it's raining, I don't have to pick you up. But you don't. But you do. You pull over. Hey, do you want a lift? You know. I'm going to wait for a bus. See you later then, or whatever it is. And then I've always done it where if someone's stood on the scene, I've always been one that'll go to McDonald's and get me a brew. I've always
Mhm.
done that sort of thing where I'll go get loads
Yep.
of water for the team, or go get.
Yep.
So I'm all this. Everyone's in the team together. But if you don't want to be part of that team, fine. But again, I'm putting this on the training schools, saying you don't have to do it. You do. First rule, you should be hello, welcome to West Yorkshire Police. How is everyone doing? I'm your lead instructor, Ben Pearson. First thing you're going to do is make the fucking tea, and you will not moan. I'll have
Yeah.
no sugar and milk in mine. And if you don't like it, don't be here. And then what's
Yeah.
wrong with that? Well, I told her that after make. Do you make tea at home or does someone make it for you? Do you make
Yeah.
cups of water at home or juice at home? What is wrong with that? If you came to my house, JJ, would you like a brew? What is wrong
Absolutely.
with that? Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
I used to like it when so what I used to do when I was if I'd go to custody and I'd see some poor Bobby sat there, he's probably been on custody watch for the last fucking 6, 7 hours. I just go over to him going like, I'll sit with him for 10 minutes, go stretch your legs, use a loo, have a brew.
Mm,
And sometimes, obviously, like sometimes people are like, no, I'm fine, but I really appreciate you asking. Or they'd say, well, I can't really leave. Do you mind making us a brew? Or, they'd jump up and be like, thank fuck. There's been loads of cops walking around. No one's offered me anything. You're just kind of in the back. Like, because I know that if I was in that position, I would want someone to come over and go, you've been here for 4 hours, mate. Do you want 5 minutes? Yeah,
yeah,
please. It's decency, isn't it? And
yeah,
it goes back to what we talk about thin blue line. It's you're all in it together. You're all supporting
yeah.
each other. But yeah, right. So that's the end of cake finds. That's the end of the rants. Unless Ben, you've got any last minute stories or rants you wanna
No, I'm
add?
happy. I'm happy. I'll tell you
Happy
what, I am.
days,
I'm
mate.
fucking
Happy
hungry.
days. I've had you on for quite a while on this one. We got really into it at the start. But we finish off with a good news story. I mean, love a good news story. And I got this one off Rest Days Cancelled, which Instagram page. If you don't follow it, the dead good. So it says, reunited on the 4th of December 2024, police attended a road traffic collision on Privet Road, Gosport. We appealed for witnesses at the time because the driver, an 87-year-old man from Gosport, suffered life-threatening injuries. We can now confirm that the driver, James Mason, a local man that is loved and adored by his friend and family. James had suffered a heart attack whilst driving. Police arrived and quickly as we could began CPR straight away. An armed response unit arrived with a defibrillator in a matter of minutes, and all 5 officers performed CPR and gave treatment until South Central Ambulance arrived. It was an absolute honour to meet James and hear about the incredible life, to have his opportunity to celebrate his remarkable journey, because the officers involved managed to go and meet him for coffee and cake. Officers involved were PC 28411 Williams, PC 29988 Cole, PC 29126 Bark, PC 27956 Jones, and PS 20587 Wren. And that's ace. And that's the shit you don't hear about.
Yeah,
That's the shit that doesn't make the news, doesn't
yeah,
end up on social media. Cops going out and saving people's lives and doing what
yeah.
cops need to do. And to those officers, fair play. Well done.
Yeah, well
World's
done.
a
Thank
better
you
place
very
with you in
much.
it.
Yeah, that's what people need. They need stuff like that because, like I said, there's not a lot. Just touching base with that, I went to a potential fatal in Shipley, a massive set of crossroads, and there's 2 sets of 4 crossroads. I know it sounds stupid. It's try to get your around. So the scene went for probably half a mile. This potential fatal, and I got there, and CPR were being done by my colleague Hannah, and this man basically had about 10 heart attacks through time. She
Right.
brought him back, heart attack. She brought him back, heart attack. She brought him back, and he had about 10 heart attacks. And when fast paramedic got there, plugged him in and stuff like that, then she worked on him again, and she got a massive award for it because she never gave up hope.
Nice.
And that's like
Nice.
those people there going, she's never stopped. Those people should be fantastically walking around with their
Hmm.
heads in clouds because of them, someone's live. And that's the biggest thing you can do for someone is that. So, yeah, big love and thank you for all they do.
Touched me that, Ben. Felt myself getting a bit emotional there when you're talking about that, mate. But yeah, you get a lot of shit from people being a bobby, but it's an incredible job, and you should wear a uniform with pride every single day.
And
But Ben, where can people find you? How can people support you?
can find me in my bed masturbating. No, I'm joking.
I'm going to
uh,
clip that.
find me on all socials as either Ben Pearson Interceptor or Ben Pearson 1965. I've got so much on at the moment. I've got some spinal up on 9th of October, so I'm doing a lot of filming at the moment. We've got a load of advanced driving videos coming out. Been working with all different forces. I'm about to go over to Northern Ireland Police soon and do all their water cannons. I can't tell you the certain cars I've got, but they've got the first ones in the UK,
Right.
and they are what you would describe as absolutely amazing. So I can't tell you what they are. That'll come soon.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, touch wood, we just signed a TV deal. I can't tell you too much about that as well. And everything's
Nice.
going well with
Nice.
Trevor. So yeah, we're best part of 60 grand so far for emergency service mental health. And
Brilliant.
our black tie balls on the 25th of October for Police Treatment Centre. So to everybody that's listening, we're always there. We've always got your back and we'll always support you. So if you need me, my DMs are always open.
Top man. Ben, thank you for everything what you do. And yeah, everyone go check out Ben. His stuff's awesome. Amazing. Till next time. See you later.